Good morning and welcome to the VolleyPod. How are you today, Todd?
Davis, everything's going well here. We're just coming off a tourney, a little tired, that late Friday night, Saturday tourney, high school tourney action. So
That's a good tournament.
a great tournament for my squad. Yeah, I was very happy with our performance. So
Well, and I was actually meaning like the level of the actual tournament. It's a strong tournament. It's the La Jolla Classic. It's just a really good San Diego tournament, and you guys.
yeah, it's solid. It's not. It's not
Yeah.
top of the line where
Right.
you're dealing with the best teams in California or the nation. Huntington Beach won it. They're a top California team, very physical, and there were a bunch of good teams, but just the middle level has gone way up. So
Yes.
everybody's good. Everybody can play. It's like, who's that libero?
Right.
Who's that left side? That kid's
Right.
bearing it. It's like I used to know every good kid, and now it's like I don't know that kid. Oh, she's a freshman.
Right.
It's like,
Oh, yeah. Well, and you were sort of expecting with all the turnover to sort of be, I wouldn't say down, but just to have sort of a transition year, and you guys killed it in the tournament.
We did, and it was fun. It was fun. I just have a group that is kind of embracing their roles, and kids are learning at a fast rate, and it's a good reminder to me about serving and passing.
Very cool. It matters. It matters. And I had a really cool week. I got to watch a ton of matches this year. It's one of my favorite things about this year is I'm not coaching high school. That sounded bad, but you know what I mean. I've been
Right,
able
you get to go out and see and go, oh,
Yeah.
look at that kid play, and you have a bunch of club kids playing that you're able to follow. That's fun.
And it's just cool to see what other coaches do and take stuff from them. And I'm totally stealing from other people. It's great. So, anyways, well, we're back at it. Presented by the Art of Coaching Volleyball. Thrilled to be working with them. And we're back at it, and I'm up on the skill.
You got the skill of the week. What is it?
So
Where are we starting this week?
So this week we are going to start with. This week we're going to start with how to help your hitters improve their timing.
Ooh, this is big because every young hitter, especially, has timing issues. It's very rare that you have a young. So I'm all ears. I love this one.
Well, and that's where the thought for this one came about. I've been doing a bunch of lessons lately, and one of the harder things for them is timing, and like you mentioned, and so we're going to get into it. And these are really in no particular order, so these are definitely not like I would teach these in these order. These are more like ideas for coaches to use for how to help their hitters. So let's get into it. So the first one, and this is a big thing that I know you're big on, is classifying our errors as this is an okay error, this is a non-okay error. And the first thing I like to do is take out being too early. I really find that they have more problems if they're too early than too late. I think good things happen if they're late. Some bad things like drifting under the net and stuff like that, but running underneath the ball, shoulder injuries, just getting out of alignment, all these things happen if they're early.
Well, I think I even talked about this before on the pod, but I've been playing this game for a bunch of years, and I'm always early.
Everyone's always early.
So it's a good place to start because there's a lot of problems with it.
Yes,
so I like it.
And that's literally what I say. I'll say everyone's always early. So can we take that out as being a known problem, essentially?
Right.
We know that's an issue, so let's work on it. We're going to say, hey, if you're a little late, we'll work on accelerating, but if you're too early, that's not okay. So that's...
I like it. Starting, hey, you identify a problem early and say, hey, we're going to teach to this and try to provide a framework for kids to be successful by not falling into the early trap. That's good.
Absolutely. So the next one is, in order to go slow to fast, everyone talks about going slow to fast. The biggest one that I see is kids that don't go slow to fast don't have some momentum going into their approach. Just a little bit of like what Mike Seeley might call the prowl step, or just some momentum creeping forward. Because when they don't, they feel like they need to rush on that first step, and then they're going fast to slow and running into issues with that.
Okay. Perfect. I like it.
So just a little bit of movement into it.
Yeah.
3 is a little drill, and I did include this, and there's 2 actually variations that I put on the show notes. And I chose 2 videos that do the same drill because one goes into a little bit more explanation of it, but it's the fake set. It's where...
Oh yeah,
remember this one?
This
Yes.
is, I think, a Dunning thing. He does some of this.
Yes, and I really like this. And really, it's a very simple drill. And if we're trying to get them to avoid being early, what you say is you're not going to take X number of steps. You're not going to be into your approach until after the set is delivered because you don't have any information. So you're essentially just going without knowing.
And
what
you're
the
going to set the ball high enough to give them time.
Exactly. Or I might set it to myself, and if the hitter's already gone, we know that they're too early.
Oh, well, no, that's right. So that's
right.
What I'm saying is, in general, when you do set them, that set you give the setter will be high enough.
Right.
So you can't do that and set a low ball because the low ball gets them, they want to run in.
Exactly.
So you just have to make sure when you do that drill, and I've done it before with some players who, if they don't set the ball high enough, it doesn't work because the reinforcement loop is incorrect.
Right. They're going early and it's still working out for them.
Well, right.
Basically, yeah.
Well, right. It has to be high enough so
to differentiate
exactly
between the 2. Yeah.
To give them enough time to be stopped and not leave until they get that information.
Yes. And that actually brings me kind of to the next one, which is what I call the mystery bag, where it's similar to the fake set one, but you don't know whether the set's coming off fast, medium, or slow.
Okay, I've never done that one.
And it's uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable, but it definitely makes them have to be able to accelerate because they can't leave early because it's just not going to work out. So if you're going to set up super fast, then they have to be good at accelerating. But like you said, you want to avoid the set being the thing that's dictating their timing. This is working on hitter timing.
Right.
So that's why you give them a mystery bag. So sometimes high, and the theory behind this, and this is going a little bit into the science, but like if there's not enough of a contrast between I'm early, I'm late, that's just right, then they don't really discern, like you were saying, and it just ends up being a continual problem. So that's why you want a super high ball, and then a fast ball, and then a medium ball. So adding a good deal of differentiation in there. The simple 5th point is ask them. like some player feedback. Like I'm so shocked when I ask them, they don't know. And this is for younger players that I'm kind of thinking, right? But I
don't know. I think there's a bunch of experienced players that don't know as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm shocked.
But nobody's ever asked
them. Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, and
it's good that you do.
Yeah, and once they start figuring out, then they can start affecting some change on it, right? So, it's just good to have that internal response loop, right? And then this one's an interesting one. It's called mode switching. So this is where you switch in between the 2 modes, and you can do this on a lot of different things, but the 2 modes for this is you have to hammer, and then you have to shoot out of bad timing, right? So I think a lot of times coaches are really great at coaching one or the other, and I think it's good to switch between the 2 modes. So you are not allowed to shoot out of your bad timing right now. You must create good timing to be able to rip the ball. So that's mode 1. And then mode 2 is clearly there's going to be times when you're off timing. You need to be able to shoot out of those situations and get them in trouble, that kind of thing.
Now, that balance is tough because, hey, we want to hit the ball hard.
Absolutely.
But we don't want to make stupid errors.
Right.
And a stupid error for us is an error where it's a bad decision. It's like, wait a minute, that's a bad set. Your timing's bad. You can't hit the ball hard here. Let's put it in the box.
Yep, absolutely. And that's why I like this idea of switching modes back and forth.
So I like that. I mean, I like the fact you name it.
Yeah.
You got a cool name.
Yeah,
absolutely. Memorable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The other thing about improving hitting timing, ask them to max jump as much as possible.
Oh.
Right? I think, and we see this all the time, when they are shooting, they slow down. And this is classic. I mean, it's just literally like this is how you read hitters because they do it so commonly.
Right.
But if you can get them to go fast and then clip off, speed off of their arm swing and, max jump all the time, they're going to be well on their way to good timing.
Yeah. Well, I think the idea with that is one of the big cues that we use is, hey, what does the player's double arm lift look like?
I like that one.
In a perfect situation. And what did it look like in that situation? So should we be able to read that? Wait a minute, they had a horrible double arm lift. Their arms didn't go back. They went back like 2 inches and their elbows bent, and it wasn't this, beautiful flowing, dynamic double arm lift. Wait a minute, I don't think the ball's going to be hit that hard right now.
Right.
And so can we turn that around for a hitter and say, hey, even if you don't have an approach and that ball's right on top of your head, can you do a little hippity hop step close, but do a big double arm lift?
Yes, absolutely. That's a really good one. And that leads me right into this next one, which has actually been really cool the way we've transitioned right onto the next one. But because we're not planning this, we're just freestyling just for those out there. We're just talking. But it's cool because it's led right to the next one. I don't really love the cue phrase step close. I like drive pop.
Oh, okay.
And we'll get more into like the actual. Like my resource today is about jumping, but stepping, no one jumps high by stepping and then closing. That's not how you jump high.
I like better language.
Better language, better results. So the reason I bring that up though is I think when you're talking about developing hitting timing, you want to start off with just the last 2 steps.
Yep.
And then add steps. I think not everyone, a lot of people want to teach young players a 4-step approach, and I think you can get to that. I think it's easy to add steps, but the last 2 are really the critical 2.
Yep.
Yeah. 2 more. You can have great timing of your approach, and this is probably my most insightful point today. I think a lot of these other things are sort of things that have been said before, but this has probably been said, but it's not said enough, I guess, is you can be on time with your approach, but your arm not prepare on time, and then you appear to have poor hitting timing, and you do have poor hitting timing.
Oh, this is a pet peeve of mine, Davis. So whenever kids do approaches, and once again, some people don't believe in this, and I can agree with them at some point, but the repetition of doing, we'll do that. I think we talked about it before, where we do our 4-2-3 approach pattern, and we go through the net. It's something like we still do every other day with my varsity team, and with them I'm trying to change their range, so they're taking some different size steps to get to different balls. So it's just a way to warm up and move by doing approaches. But that idea that they won't jump and they won't swing when they do their approaches.
Yes.
Or if they do swing, their arm comes through when they're back on the ground.
Absolutely. Right, so they're literally
practicing the incorrect thing.
They're practicing the incorrect thing, and their feet are on time. Like their feet are
on time, right?
So,
but arm is late.
So linking that as part of their timing.
That is huge. That is the best thing you said.
Yes,
I agree.
Thank you. So I did get one good one in there. No, and then the final.
They're all good. I just like that one the best.
Yeah, and I think that's probably overlooked. Everyone says, "Well, you're late, you're early,
right.
You're late, you're early," and can their arm get up at the same time relative to their approach nearly every single time?
So we're trying to actually, because we're trying to go fast, and I'll tell you, yesterday we had some rhythm in our office, Davis. You would have liked it.
Okay.
We had some rhythm, and we're getting some space, and we're getting we're getting our right side like wide open, with some, and even sets that weren't located. Like a couple sets were too tight, but there was no blocker, so my player just kind of tipped it down.
Yes.
My big 5'5" right side.
Oh yeah, she's massive. Yeah. No, but that's awesome. It sounds click.
But no, that idea. What I'm saying is, because we're going fast to the pins, we're trying to tell our hitters, hey, you're a quick hitter.
Yes.
Because the ball is traveling horizontally fast. You can't take your time getting your arm up. And our kids, I think in men's volleyball, you can have a little loopier prep because you're in the air longer.
Right.
And if you're jumping, 40 inches, maybe your arm can be a little slower because you have that time to prep your arm because you're in the air so long.
Right.
But if you're jumping 20 inches, you better get your arm up.
Exactly. And then the number one tip for improving your hitting timing is just hit a lot of sets. I know it sounds obvious, but hitters are hitters and they love to hit, so they should be hitting a slide. Like, I think an outside should be able to hit off of 1 foot. They should be able to hit a high ball, a fast ball. If they can only hit one type of thing, they're not really maximizing everything they can do. So just get out there and hit a ton of balls. You will get better every time, as long as you're being a little bit aware. So that's the skill of the day.
I got one thing to add.
Yeah, let's hear it.
And that is the difference between space and time.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So there's a difference. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So
there's early and late.
Yes.
But there's under the ball. And just because you're under the ball doesn't necessarily mean you're early. It means your spacing might be wrong.
Such a good point.
We have to differentiate those things, space and time. And I think sometimes we confuse those.
I agree. I had a kid that was hitting the ball into the net, and she was saying, I'm late. And she wasn't late. It was just her contact point,
right,
was in front of her.
Yep.
And so I think that's a really, really great point. So awesome. So that's the skill
All
of
right.
the day.
I love it.
So what do we got for the scenario?
So I hate just kind of bringing you into my season, but these are scenarios that I'm dealing with in real time right now.
Sure.
Speaking of, like, this weekend, and we have a match tomorrow.
Okay.
And so that got me thinking about the idea of contingency planning.
Okay.
And how much of it should we do, and what does it look like, and is it worth spending the time to contingency plan to take time away from having your top kids get better at all those things you need to get better. And so, for example, right now, we have 2 outside hitters, and we're serve receiving with one of them in 2-person serve receive.
Right.
So if one of the players, who is a 2-person serve receiver and an outside hitter, if she goes down, I don't have a player who's going to jump into 2-person serve receive.
Right.
We're not practicing a lot of 3-person serve receive right now. I mean, we're going through kind of some general passing, but we haven't put a bunch of time into saying, hey, we need to put 3 out. If Matza's not playing, then we got to do this. If Kaya's not playing, we're going to do this. If I don't have 4 outside hitters. If we replace, and once again, I mention this because, of course, this player, after our tournament, we set her a ton of balls, and she was working, and we had, we played 14 sets.
Wow.
And over, Friday and Saturday, and, Matza was in 2-person serve receive the whole time, and we don't have, our middles, we don't set our middles a ton. And we're in a 5-1, so our lefts are getting a ton of sets. And it could be child abuse a little bit. I feel a little bit guilty. They're happy because they're getting a bunch of sets, but I'm looking at it going, wait a minute, is this sustainable?
Right.
But anyway, so my knee's a little quirky. I just want to let you know. I'm going, oh, okay. Well,
Right.
we have a match on Monday.
Right.
And of course it's Sunday. Today's Sunday, and we're not practicing. So, hey, wait a minute, should I have put a bunch of time in? What's your take on contingency plans, and how do you plan for that?
Well, it's $1 million question, but I will tell you the thing that will change your mind about contingency plan is when you don't have one and you get stung by it.
Yep.
And one of my best friends, was always a big 5-1 guy, and he really sort of believed in we run a 5-1. I'm not going to necessarily get my backup setter in really at all unless my other one's injured. And it didn't happen all season. And right before JO's, she gets injured, the one setter gets injured, and now they're in one of the toughest tournaments that they played in all season, and they're in with their second setter, who has essentially no experience with the team. That will change your mind.
Right.
It hasn't happened since. He trains both of them up now.
Right. Okay.
And so, I would say it's $1 million question on how much time.
Yep.
But I definitely think you got to have one.
So here's kind of my new approach to this.
Okay.
Where I'm trying to cheat.
Okay.
And so my approach is more philosophical.
Okay.
Where we're trying to have this idea of flexibility. Like you just talked about in attacking. Hey, we want our attackers to hit all kinds of sets. So we want our left hit from the right. We want to hit pipes. We want to hit from the back row. So we're not specializing quite as much. So let's say if we need to put a left side attacker in, somebody who's playing right side, maybe she hasn't played there, but we've practiced that.
Familiar.
You know, I mean, she's practiced as, hey, you're still on the same steps. Ball's coming from a little different direction. When we're in row one, you're hitting over there, so it's not something like you've never done, even though you haven't played that position.
Right.
But just this idea that we're always encouraging them to say, hey, you're not a right side hitter, you're an attacker. And a lot of time you're hitting on the right, but there might be a bunch of times you need to hit on the left. And if Masha goes down, you're going to be there a lot.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, we might not be practicing a lot, but
right.
But it's not this kind of huge thing like, well, I've just never done that before. So I don't know if I'm putting enough time into it from hey, we don't have all these contingency plans and we're not taking practice time. Well, if she goes down, we're going to do this. If she goes, it's more of flexibility like, hey, you need to hit from everywhere. You need to learn to play all three positions in the back row because we could switch up and you never know. So there's this kind of flexibility built into our training rather than specific contingency planning.
I love that idea. I think that's wonderful. And I'll give you another one. So this is one of the cool things about seeing a bunch of matches. So Point Loma this year legitimately only carries one setter on varsity. And I don't know what the deal is, but she wasn't there. And their libero, Nazi, stepped in and set and did a great job. And
that kid's a good volleyball player.
She's a good volleyball player. So if you got good volleyball players, you can do some of the stuff you're talking about there. And it's not like, oh no, we don't have someone who can set the ball.
Right.
You have a contingency.
She's a beach
plan.
Kid. She sets a lot.
She sets a lot. Yeah, she could hit. She'd hit middle if you wanted her to.
Yeah.
So, but no, that's sort of philosophically. Let's be complete volleyball players, right? So really cool. So what else do you got for us in the scenario? Anything else that help guide some coaches?
On that scenario, I think it's. I think if you're on a club team, it's a little bit different because you have to define more roles. On my high school team, we have kids that. We might be, if somebody gets injured, we might completely shuffle everything around. Where in a club, you're always saying, wait a minute, this kid's going to sit sometimes because, we have to play everybody a little more. So I think there's a little different philosophy there with club. But, I'm always saying, hey, I want to make sure that when we train, that we're training our top kids to perform the best they can. Because that's part of my role, and some people might say there's an overemphasis of winning in that. But hey, we're trying to be our best, and I think we don't. We tell kids that from the beginning. We don't change the rules with them on that.
Right.
And there might be some kids who don't play as much. If I'm coaching them on a club team, I'm probably playing them more. But on my high school team, I make that very clear early on, and kind of they know what's going to happen. I don't, the communication lines are very clear and they know about it, so we're not Pearl Harboring them with this.
Right.
But I think it does make the contingencies. It's there are nights that I wake up thinking, what if this happens? We're not ready. We haven't done anything. So
I'll give one more thing with the contingency plans, and I think this. Well, I think. One of the things that is a continual contingency plan is to not overemphasize the A squad versus B squad stuff. Coach everyone up. If A squad member goes out, B squad member ready to go in, it's all good. I think doing too much AB. I think you can do some AB, and especially in high school, it works out a little bit better sometimes doing AB, but scrimmaging, but. Really valuing those second teamers, like giving them the same good feedback, letting them get in every drill just as much, not giving more reps to the starter, stuff like that. So anyways, well, awesome scenario.
Thanks.
Yeah.
What do you have for the videos? What are we looking at?
Okay, so for the videos, the first one I'm going to start with These will all be unlocked on the Art of Coaching Volleyball's website, so check them out. The first one is one that we mentioned already. It is a really great discussion from John Dunning where he does this drill that we already mentioned, where it's sort of, you could either set it to yourself or not, and the hitter has to go hit it, basically. And the idea is for the hitter to wait and then accelerate. But the reason I like this one is it actually goes into some pretty good detail about some of the mistakes that happen during this thing. So, like, he's got a couple hitters out in there and they go early, they got a couple and they go late, or they're not in motion, and he just has a really good discussion on it. Coach Dunning is...
Well, it's great having the... It's not perfect, so it's not run by, international level players who are doing everything right. It's great stuff that comes out, to look like our players that we coach.
Exactly, which helps us to problem solve them versus like some elite players that we've never worked with before. The other is the same drill, but with just a little bit of a different spin on it. It is the coach from, I believe it's Marquette. Let me double check this. And it's just a timing drill. Yeah, it's from Marquette. It's Ryan Theus.
Oh, yeah.
And they just do just a sort of a modification of the drill where you pass it to someone and then they do either the set or whatnot. But again, it's just to try to get them to be early. This is a quick hitter, and the reason I put this one on is I think you could show this one to your hitters, right? It's literally a 1-minute video. The other one's 15 minutes for more like coaches if you want to get into the discussion piece. So, and then
that's cool. You have two, and one is player, kind of for players, and one's for coaches. That's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the final one is Terry Liskevich.
All right.
I'm sorry. It's not Terry Liskevich. It's the other Oregon State coach.
Oh, okay. His assistant who became the head coach, yes. Mark Barnard. Yeah.
Mark Barnard, and he is doing a similar thing, helping his players to understand timing. But he has them hit 3 balls in a row of different tempos.
Oh, okay.
And again, that variation helps them to learn timing. And what we know from science is that if things are different enough, then you can compare
differential training.
Yeah.
I think I need to do more of that.
Yeah, it's pretty
cool.
So
it's super simple, but backed by science. I like it.
Yeah, so 3 simple things. Again, there's no quick fix. There's nothing that's going to solve hitter timing, right? But there are some things that you're going to do to improve.
But I'll tell you, when kids get a couple, and they connect, and they get that little fire in their eye, Davis, there's nothing better. That's why old guys like us still coach, right?
Exactly.
For those moments.
Absolutely. So those videos will be available for you to check out, and please feel free to check them out on the Art of Coaching Volleyball's website. Now, what is the resource of the week, Todd?
We are staying in the Art of Coaching site for this resource, and this is one that I was reminded because my buddy Don Patterson, who's done a lot of this, he's done a lot of work for Art of Coaching, reminded me about this, and I said, I got to go back and look at those, and that is the blog feature on Art of Coaching.
I didn't even know about that.
And that's why we're bringing it up, because it's awesome. You'll really like it. So there's just they're blogs, and the latest one is a great one, and it is hit more line, score more points.
Oh, I see.
Okay,
cool.
That's an awesome one. Why core strength is so important for volleyball players.
Nice.
I did one on things that are undervalued and overvalued. And then they have stuff like motivating with ice cream. I mean, it's cool stuff to just get these little bits of info when you're in your season. Can you bring a little different take to your players because they're listening to your voice a bunch, and you've done maybe the same stuff with these kids who are seniors now. They go, wait a minute, this is a new one. He's got it. There's still this old dog's got a new trick.
That's right. That's so cool. That's another one. I literally work for Art of Coaching Volleyball, and I did not even know about that. So it's a rad one.
So how about this one? You'll like this one. Hey, coach, stop looking for a tall setter.
Oh, I like that. I was a tall setter, so I don't know if I agree with that, but no, but that's cool, and you can get different takes, and that's what we love about this site.
That's what, and I was talking always about Matty U, and I think the last time we beat Cathedral, we were with Matty U in a 5-1.
Oh,
they were
wow.
missing some kids, of
But
course.
still.
But we were missing, I don't know, it was Rocky or something was gone, I think. And so we were there. So anyway.
So we got cut. We got
All
cut.
right.
So we'll say.
Sorry, I should have.
No, it's okay.
I saw that 28. I should have wrapped it up.
That's all good. So, but we still got. So start. Where should we do that? So let's say the last time would be Cathedral with Matty U. Do you want to say that?
I'll start with, hey, coach, stop looking for a tall
Okay.
setter. How
Okay,
about that?
perfect. Yeah,
and then
that
you
sounds
can
good.
do that. That
We can
will be
do
the
some-
break.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So, yeah, like here's another one or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. I think. Let me just wait for it to process. Sometimes it gets a little weird if I do it before I process. How are we doing? We're doing okay on time. Okay. Yeah, we're doing.
Yeah, what
great.
was your time? Yeah.
4:30. We're okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So apparently, right now they're having something for Art of Coaching, right? It's like founders.
They had a founders thing, yeah, they were doing on beginning of season stuff. Don talked to me the other day.
Okay. So is John Dunning feeling better?
I think he's doing a little better, yeah.
Okay.
I haven't talked to him. But we should have him on as a guest.
Yeah,
Because he's
totally.
into teaching stuff.
Yeah.
So that should be, we should maybe think about having another guest and how we're going to do that in the next few.
Totally. Ready?
Yeah. So here's another one for you, Davis. You'll like this one. Hey, coach, stop looking for a tall setter.
Well, I was a tall setter, so I don't know how I feel about that. But again, you get different opinions, and I love it.
Yeah. Hey, I just remember the last time we beat Cathedral was with Matty U in a 5-1. We were in a 6-2. I think Rocky was gone or something. And so
Okay.
Matty set a 5-1, and I'm going, gosh, we're pretty good here, even though the setter's 5-4 and not blocking. She's such a good setter that how much does that make up for, you know? So just
Absolutely.
stuff like that on these blogs. There's just so much great info and little stuff that you can send to players too.
So cool. So what a great pod. We hit all sorts of great stuff today. We talked about developing hitter timing. We talked about how much you should have a backup plan or
Yeah,
a contingency plan.
plans.
And obviously those videos will be unlocked on the Art of Coaching Volleyball for anyone to check out. And we shared the resource, which is the blog.
Blog feature.
Blog
Yeah,
feature,
it's
which is
right
awesome.
there. Just look under blogs and the AOC. It's right up there on the menu on top, and get into the blogs. And I went down a rabbit hole. Spent about an hour reading a bunch of good
Nice.
ones.
So cool. Well, what a great episode, and thanks a lot.
Take care, Davis.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Cool.